Welcome to our podcast, Taking Life by the Horns.
And taking no bull.
It's great to have you guys here today. So we are going to start the day off with gratitudes, and we're always going to start our podcast with gratitudes, and there's a reason why. So you are what you focus on. So let's focus on things that we're happy about, things that we're grateful for, and expand those gratitudes. What do you think?
Well, I believe that living life is not all about living in love and light. We as humans are going to experience bad experiences, challenges, frustrations, and all of those are okay to feel, but it's not okay to live there. So one of the best things you can do to bring yourself out of that is to focus on something you're grateful for. It raises your vibration and raises your frequency and sets your day on a different course. So that's why we do it. It's not to pretend that everything's great, because life isn't always great, but it is to kind of help reset us a little bit. So
Yeah,
what are you grateful for today?
So I'm grateful. I spent the day yesterday with my two younger brothers. There's 5 of us. I have 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers, and I got to spend the day with my younger brothers. And I'm just so grateful for my family. We're all very different, and we're all very much alike. So we complement each other in a way that I don't think most families get, but we're a little bit of everything. And it was just an amazing day that I got to spend with them yesterday. So I'm really grateful for my family. We'll talk a lot about our families and the things that we get from growing up, but I'm glad I am who I am, and that's because of the family I am and the brothers that I have.
Yeah, I think you have an amazing family. I have yet to meet any of them, but I already have a saying of your dad written above my desk that I can see every day. It's a saying your dad says, and Dickie Rice is under it. Yeah. So I'm excited to meet your family. You sent me pictures yesterday. You all look so happy.
Thank you. So my dad, most parents, I'm guessing most parents will say, does money grow on trees when you're asking about money? And my dad said, it's only money will make more. So that really set me up for manifesting money, and I did not realize that's what I was doing. And we'll get into that. There's a really good story. I think it's a podcast on its own, but he set me up with that. It's only money will make more. So don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. And if that's one of the lessons I can give you on money, that's it. It's not that, we're all rich millionaires. We can get there, but it's just don't stress about where it's going to come from, because however you believe, God, Creator, whatever you believe, He will provide.
Well, I think you're kind of leading into our podcast really good with that little story.
But tell me your gratitude first.
We want to talk about how thoughts change our reality. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for the courage that I'm finding within myself to step out of my comfort zone, put myself out there. This podcast is one of them. And I'm just putting myself out into the world a little bit more authentically, and really not caring what people think, but what I'm receiving in return is just such love and acceptance and a warm feeling from those around me. So I do believe that the power of our thoughts creates our reality, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, because both of us have such amazing experiences throughout our life, but even recently it affects our day-to-day lives.
Yeah. So maybe let's just go into your story. Candi has this great story about she's been putting out there some really great positive thoughts on different things that you're doing. Let's tell our audience real quick.
Well, I called you yesterday and I knew you were busy, but I left you a little message. It said, oh my gosh, I see this all the time. I've seen this for years and years, but it's amazing how things keep aligning with us. And so I do believe that everything we're putting out there, we attract back into our lives. So if you're putting out positive thoughts, positive expectations, and you're seeing good in people, that's what's going to be reflected back to you. So yesterday I walked into Office Max to print a workbook because I love self-development courses.
Oh, don't we all? Isn't that why we're here?
So I'm taking a course, and it was a 100-page workbook, and I wanted to get it printed. So I walked in, and it was on manifestation. And young kid behind the counter says, oh wow, this looks really interesting. And I said, do you believe in manifestations? And he said, actually I do, and I've really been trying to work on it, but I've not been very successful with it. So we had a long conversation, and I got in my car, and I was so grateful for that moment. I said, well, when I become a manifestation coach, I'm coming back and we're going to work together.
Yeah.
But I was so grateful. I could have ended up with somebody behind the counter that was maybe not social and talkative, and I would have stood there, and that would have been fine too. Or I could have ended up with somebody who said, manifestation, this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, this stuff doesn't work. But I didn't. I attract somebody who is so like-minded, who is so open, who wants a better life, who knows. And we talked about the programming that we have, this young kid behind the counter Office Max. We talked about the programs that are instilled in our own brains and what we have to overcome to reach the life that we want. So it was amazing to me that he already knew these things.
Yeah, that's great. And so manifestation, that may be a big scary word for a lot of you, but we're going to break it down today. Simply, you are what you think. That's the bottom line. Now we're going to get into a lot more information, and it'll give you a lot more tools, but today it's you are what you think. Yeah. So you talked about your programs, and what programs are is basically how we were treated as a child up to this point. So the different things that people have told you, what do you believe about yourself to be true? So, I am sure everybody had a bully or an incident growing up where someone wasn't kind to them. So that, if you think on that story and you believe what those people think, then that can ruin your life. But if you realize that this person is dealing with their own issues and what they say about you is none of your business and is not true, we can deflect that and grow and become who we want to be.
Well, I was thinking back to something your dad said when you were a kid, right? I grew up with the family who said, do you think money grows on trees? We grew up with a scarcity mindset. We were not a poor family, but we grew up with a scarcity mindset. You did not.
Right.
I think we also all grow up with our families saying things like, what would the neighbors think? So we grow up being very concerned about what others around us think about us, when it really is none of our business, because it's really not a reflection of who we are as people.
And if we knew how little our neighbors think, you wouldn't be bothered by it. Like, I forgot the percentage, but how little people actually think about you is very small.
Is it in a book that we're listening to right now that the author had said, I think his dad said when he was little, what do you think the neighbors would think? And he said, good, I hope they are thinking.
Yeah, right? Hopefully they are thinking. So yeah, there's a book out there and it's called Personality Isn't Permanent. And that's one thing that I really think comes back to this. So you may have this story about what the neighbors have thought about you or what your parents told you, and you might believe that is your story.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be. You get to decide what your story is based on the way that you think to yourself and your internal dialogue. So always be kind with your words to yourself, because those are the words that matter, not what anybody else thinks of us. So very first off, with you are what you think nice about yourself, and don't worry about what other people are thinking of you.
Right. And it is overcoming a lot of those things that we heard growing up as children. Not that our parents were mean or had ill intent. I'm a mother of 3 grown boys myself. My youngest is 19, my oldest is 25. And did I make mistakes and ask them, what are you thinking? I grew up with my dad who said, you have marbles rolling around in your head. He meant it in a joking way and to be funny, but we take it seriously, and then it gets ingrained and we start believing things about ourselves that we're not capable of certain things, maybe not even worthy of certain things. So reprogramming your own thoughts with those kind words to yourself and reminding yourself you're a powerful being and to step into that power.
Yeah. So first, let me tell everybody listening, in case you did not hear it, you are worthy. You are capable, and you will achieve every dream you want.
Absolutely.
You can just take that to the bank. It's the truth. Follow us. I'll teach you how. We'll teach you how, but it's all true. And I also think you're beautiful.
I think another thing that we need to remind people of is a lot of times we get our hearts broken, right? Or we get into situations that we wish we would have handled differently. We would have said something differently or done something differently. Somebody said something to us that hurt our feelings, and I think more often than we should, we get in those moments and we replay those situations, we replay those words, we replay what if. And sometimes that's not a good thing to do. Often living in those moments and replaying those negative things over and over keep you in that state, and it keeps breaking your heart and keeps hurting you over and over. And once you realize that what was said to you or done to you was nothing personal, it's often is just another human being an imperfect human being, and that's all it simply is. And we take it personally. That's when we just need to let some of those things go, not replay them, remind ourselves who we really are so that we can move forward and be productive and healthy in our own thoughts to create our own healthy, loving reality.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I've learned is usually what people are telling you is just a reflection of what they're thinking inside about themselves. So let them deal with what they're going through. Don't take it personal, and just do your best to wash it off. And speaking of wash it off, isn't it always in the shower that we replay these scenarios, or is that just me?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
I can stand in the shower for half an hour replaying a situation thinking, I should have said this, I should have reacted like that. Why didn't I think of this? And I can't believe how much water I wasted.
Right. So maybe we work on saving some water as we work on our thoughts. And if you need to go replay it in a positive way with a better spin on it. These are your memories. You get to make them. You get to create them. So change it up a little bit. It's all about the perception. Absolutely. So change up your perception. And then, so we need to know where we are, who we want to be, and be honest with ourselves when we think about who we are. And our thinking creates who we are.
Well, being honest with ourselves really is probably the toughest piece of it all, is really being honest about where we are in life and who we are. Because a lot of us sometimes don't want to admit those things to ourselves. We do kind of want to be all love and light, don't we?
Yeah.
We're not.
Or are you being more critical of yourself? Right. So I think a lot of times it's both ways, but it could be the flip too, that you are your worst critic. So whatever negative thing you're thinking about yourself, I almost guarantee you nobody is thinking that quite as tough. I told a friend of mine, she was, in this little negative hole, saying some negative things about herself, and I stopped and I said, don't talk to my friend that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then that's what we need to say to ourselves. So if you get into the negative thing, you are your own friend. Don't talk to your friend that way. Would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself?
This is where maybe a pattern interrupt is a great thing that would come in handy. So this is something I'm personally working on myself. A pattern interrupt is when you start recognizing the fact that you are in this pattern of thinking of maybe that's not so positive, maybe negative about yourself, you're being critical, you're being hard. And this is where a pattern interrupt will snap you out of that. So actually, I saw a girl do this the other day, and she drew something completely inappropriate on the screen, but it got our attention, and it made us stop thinking about what we were thinking about, right? So I have been toying with the idea and trying to find a pattern interrupt in my life. I've heard people use examples like, as a pattern interrupt, I'm going to think of Powerpuff Girls, or, something silly and funny that gets you out of that negative thinking and that critical thinking, and reminds you to stop, be aware of it, and reprogram your thoughts.
Okay, so simply something that just takes us out of that negative thought.
Yes.
So what are some ideas? I was thinking of, cute puppies playing, like, you were saying something drastic.
When I was thinking about my own pattern interrupt, you send me a cute little kitty or puppy video, I'm sold, that's it. I don't care what I could be thinking about myself. I would stop and all of a sudden be madly in love with whatever's going on in my life in that moment. So
that's a great thing. Maybe there's a dad joke. If you know me well, I absolutely love dad jokes. You have dad jokes, please comment them below, because I will give you a shout out when I announce rodeos, and we'll tell your dad joke. So maybe a funny dad joke. Yeah. What else could be a great pattern interrupt? I know when you're public speaking, they say to picture the crowd naked. That could be a pattern interrupt. Yeah. It may make you laugh, may make you blush,
but you're not having those negative
Yeah.
thoughts, and you're breaking, and that's the key, is breaking the pattern.
Yeah.
Breaking that belief that has just naturally been programmed within inside of us, right? Our brains are programs.
Mm-hmm.
We have programs already installed, and now we're just trying to change that and reprogram them to become happier, healthier, more successful people.
Yeah. So I did this class years ago. Oh my gosh, 20, 25, 30 years ago. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but we did I am statements. So it started with just write down who you are, simply who you are. And a lot of people were, I am Tenneile, I'm 5'4.5", I am a rancher's wife, I raise bucking bulls, very, pretty basic, easy stuff. And then he's like, well, why didn't anybody say, I am successful, I am happy, I am wealthy, I am fit, all these goals that we have. So those are the I am affirmations. And that's a good way to start changing those thoughts, is having some affirmations. Very simple, starts I am, and what do you want to be? So what would be a good I am statement for Candi?
For Candi, I am creative.
Yes, very creative.
These are great statements to start every morning when you first get up. Look in the mirror as you're getting ready. Repeat your I am statements. My I ams are actually hanging on my bathroom mirror.
Nice.
So I see them every morning when I'm getting ready, or every evening when I'm going to bed too. Those are amazing times of days. Yeah. But even setting an alarm for the middle of the day to remind yourself. Sometimes just setting an alarm to remind yourself to reprogram your brain with I am statements.
Did you read the book The Help?
No.
Okay, so The Help, I read the book, I watched the movie, they're hilarious if you're into that. But one of the stories is the nanny said to the little girl, and the grammar is ferocious, but you is pretty, so I can't do that, but you are pretty, you are happy, you are thoughtful. And she started with this toddler, raising her up to believe these things. So it works. It's, if you have children, talk to them that way as well. Get those programmed into their head. It's going to change their life, and it's going to change your life as well.
I saw another little meme about a child putting herself to bed and telling herself, I love you, and then repeating back to herself, I love you too.
Oh, that's
so
adorable.
So it's two little girls, the same girl.
Yeah.
I love you too. And I thought that is exactly how we need to be raising our children. What different adults they would grow up to be.
Yeah, and I think that really ties us back into great about you are what you think. Yeah. Love yourself. Do you love yourself? Do you truly love yourself? If not, why? And how can we change that? Because you're going to be with yourself your entire life. You need to love yourself. And I know from my own personal struggles and battles that can sometimes be hard, but it is life-changing when you learn that your love for yourself is the most important thing. Just like when you're on the plane and they tell you, put on your air mask first, love yourself first, so you can love your husband, your children, your friends, your family a better, larger way. So I think that's beautiful that she did that.
You and I have a lot of those conversations about those are the people I trust the most, right? The ones who do love themselves, because I know they have the capability to love me. They love themselves deeply. They know how to love deeply. Yeah. Those are the people I trust.
Definitely. And if you feel like you're not there, just keep following us. We're going to get you there. So Candi got me into something, and when she first mentioned it, I was like, oh, this is a little hokey for me. I'm not so sure, but subliminal messages. So my thoughts of subliminal messages is, oh, you can't listen to that AC/DC album because there's a subliminal message on there. All that silly stuff from our childhood. But there's actually really good subliminal messages. Tell us a little bit about that and how you came across subliminal messages and how you have used those to reprogram your mind.
I think they have helped me tremendously. I have only been doing them consistently for the last few months. I've known about them for a couple of years, but never really maybe put a lot of stock into them. And consistency is key. We talked about repetitiveness earlier, I believe. And repetitiveness, I think you've helped me really understand that it is key to be repetitiveness. So subliminals are subliminal messages to yourself underlaid under frequencies or sounds of rain, something soothing. I always prefer frequencies because frequencies add another layer of healing to you. And they are usually much like I am statements, but they're affirmations. I am successful, I am smart, I am creative. And it just reprograms yourself while you're in a sleeping state or in a relaxed state. You can listen to them while you're working. You can listen to them while you're doing dishes. I also listen to them at night while I sleep. And it works really beneficial in those states when you're sleeping because of the theta states that your brain gets into.
So you have a mask that has earbuds in them, and then a mask for your eyes, obviously, so you can just listen to those on repeat all night. So if our audience wants to get some subliminals, where do you suggest we find those?
The one, I go to YouTube, and I have a couple of channels I really like, but one of the ones that I even recommended to you is the Sound Healers. So that's a great channel to go to. They have all different kinds of subliminals based on different types of things. The power of our brains and our mind is unlimited. We could change everything from their physical body to money to the way we feel about ourselves.
I saw one about erase your gray hair in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure on that one. So, but interesting.
Yeah.
When they come in a little bit more, we may be trying that. But I mean, that brings us into another point. You know, you need to believe that these are working for you. And even if you don't in the beginning, I think it'll come to you. That, you know, you'll see the little bitty changes. Like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking this. And if you're using the subliminals, or if you're just changing your thoughts, back to your story in Office Max, you'll start creating the environment that hosts those good thoughts for you. You'll see it happening.
Absolutely. I do think you need to believe in these types of things. The desire to change has to be there first and foremost. And if you don't have that desire and that faith in your ability to change, it's going to be much harder. But I do see it making changes. Obviously our realities, I feel like your reality and my reality differs from perhaps the way they used to be or from other people's realities. I feel like when I go out into the world, I cannot tell you the amount of beautiful people that I meet. You know, I follow a lot of other podcasters and YouTube channels, and I hear a lot of them talk about encountering narcissism and ugly people in the world and people who are, you know, grumpy, and I don't get that. I'm thinking, what part of the world are you living in that this is what you encounter? Because I was carrying 14 bags of salt out of Home Depot, and I had 2 people stop and ask to help me load them in my car. Anytime I go into a grocery store, I always have somebody compliment me on something. You know, going into Office Max and meeting that young kid who was just so anxious to have a conversation with me. I don't see a lot of those things in the world, but I also constantly, in telling you and anybody around me, I'm so grateful. I have the best life. I have the best experiences. I cross the best people. Yeah. And guess what? As I consistently say that and I consistently believe that, that is exactly what's coming into my life.
Like attracts like. So you attract people that are like you. So if you want to learn a little bit more about yourself, start paying attention to the people that are surrounding you, the people in your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe, 100% true. The people that are coming into your life, even those strangers. And if it's not what you want, then let's go back internal and work on those programs and those internal thoughts. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens pretty quickly.
Yes.
But stay consistent with it, and you will attract likeness and what you're looking for. So you are what you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you have some great stories too with creating your reality, because you are out here raising bucking bulls and you have cows and bulls. You know, when it comes to calving season, do you encounter issues? Sure, you encounter them, but it's not your life. It's not anything you worry or fear about every season. You typically have set up your life to be very smooth sailing for the most part.
Right. So those of you that don't know, so calving, you know, cows having babies, can be very difficult, but I have a different look on it. cows have been calving in wild nature for thousands of years. That's how they're here. And now they're domesticated and we put our human issues on them. And I sit back and I let nature take its course. So a miracle of life, they know what to do. And sometimes we get involved too early and can cause problems. So my husband and I, we step back and we watch from afar with binoculars and only get involved if we really have to. But we put out the thoughts, the feeling, the frequency that it's going to be fine. And it is. It's, I'm not saying that we've never had issues, but for the most part, it's been very good and everything has always worked out how it's supposed to be. And that's one thing that I put in my life is I try to take the worry and the anxiety out by knowing everything's going to work out how it's supposed to. So, those hard times, they're there to learn a lesson and to move forward. But yeah, I feel like I've manifested some easy calving. Now we're halfway through, so we'll check in. We got 15 calves on the ground right now, so we got some more to go.
Well, we had a little incident the other night when I was here. We were going out on a date, and there was a mama calf who had a calf who had a little bit of trouble. So, but the next morning you text me and said, "Oh, he's doing great. He's back on mama." And I said, "Well, of course, there was no other option because that's really what we set up. That's our intention. Is that." Like you said, things are going to work out just the way they need to. So if God needed to take that calf for whatever reason, there's that acceptance there. But we set out the intention that calf is going to be healthy, fine, go back to mama, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. He was born in a mud hole, was very cold. So we went, got him, which can sometimes be a struggle when you have mean cows like I do. And my husband and I, we brought him in, warmed him up, super stinking cute little boy, and then went right back to mom and was nursing in 30 minutes. And then we got to go have a great dinner and we planned this podcast. And I'm just enjoying this time, and I hope that everybody stays tuned in. We have a list of great things that we're going to bring to you guys. Like we talked a lot of manifestation stuff, but just our stories and the different things and showing you how you really can create the reality you want to. And we'll teach you how.
So I think to just recap for those who want to take notes and maybe start making changes in your life, is be more aware and conscious of what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, and be real. Like, we do have programming installed in us that we didn't really agree to, and it's okay to change those now because it's not who we are. And if you want tips on how to do that, of course, stick with us. But things you can start on right now is come up with your I am statements. I am beautiful. I am creative. I am strong. I'm intelligent, right? Keep those in a place where you can constantly remind yourself. You can check out and tap into some subliminals and frequencies that are listed on simple places like YouTube, and create those affirmations for yourself. Again, there's lots of meditations with affirmations in them, or write your own, because you are your own creator of your own reality.
Yes, definitely. We'll put some of those in the notes, and please subscribe to our page, comment below, tell us what your affirmations are. And then, one thing is always make sure they're in the present tense. If you have questions, comment below. We're happy to help, and it's just so great to be here. Thank you, Candy. I'm so excited to do this with you, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
All right. Take care.